The directorials hoped to profit from these hesitations. They endeavored to return to the tax upon salt. And they demanded also that those employed for the Octroi city toll should be chosen by the government. The Commission of Finances protested that the tax upon salt, upon which the produce, if certain, would exceed 30 millions, was necessary. The right was reduced to a half. It observed also with reason that under the present circumstances, I was wiser to leave the executive power the choice of above 1,000 persons employed in Paris alone. These importunities could not persuade the two oppositions who, united upon the two questions, caused both of them to be rejected. They were not sparing in reproaches to the Commission of Finances for having dared to renew for the tax upon salt a proposition that had already been rejected and to have presented before the delay exacted by law. They refused to the government the right of nomination to the employments of the Octroi city tolls, which they had established, and they preferred to confide the choice to the departmental administration. I spoke and voted for that last measure, which was not very reasonable in the position of affairs the particular administrations of the capital had too often taken advantage of their influence. But the mania of tormenting the government overbalanced the wise counsel of our adversaries. That mania of daily opposition to a government in the administrative measures that he claims for the public service has often proved fatal. It appears a noble proof of independence, but it is perhaps too often, though we do not own it ourselves, only a spirit of egotism in a body or an individual. Ancient history has not transmitted to us an example of these struggles, these daily broils upon the administrative details between the supreme authorities of the state. To embarrass one's government at every step is a sort of patriotism too much perfectionated in our times. The obstacles in our race against the administration, above all in grave cases, are far more prejudicial to the governed than to those who govern. They weaken those whom they ought to strengthen. It is like distracting the attention of a pilot while he is passing amid the rocks and quicksands. The vessel which he guides carries us with it as well as him. If he is skillful, let him alone and aid him in his maneuvers instead of thwarting him. But if he isn't skillful and is likely to cause us to be shipwrecked, well, then, if in that case we must aid him till the precise moment that our safety requires another guide, and then it will not suffice to make puerile attacks. The question is not one of gymnastics, nor of self-love, but it is one of life and death. The more the blow is prompt and decisive, the more the safety of all is assured. The crisis is the more salutary when it is rapid. The political body is like the human body. A happy crisis or a revolution may save it, but years of long agony or egotist opposition, systematical and tormenting, weakens and consumes it. The crisis is sometimes the only means of salvation, and if obliged to resort to it, the greatest danger consists in retarding it. If the political chief is constantly struck with repeated blows, if even the attacks are not very grave, they enervate and stupefy him, and may in the end so derange his organization that the vital strength of the heart may suffer from it. The directorial epic, of which I here retrace the remembrance, and the epic of 1830, offer two striking examples of the different social maladies. The Directory, opposed to incessant attacks, resisted as well as it could, but weakened and languishing, it vegetated more than it governed. And the Republic, falling into a state of marasmus, was near the moment of expiring beneath the Tartar pikes of Suvorov. In 1830, on the contrary, by a vigorous and rapid movement, they changed the chief who had broken the fundamental compact of his authority and whom To the eve of that change, they had not refused all support and power. They changed, and that crisis, if it had received the sanction of a universal voting, would be the most irreproachable crisis of the Revolution. Our long opposition to 1798 was, I believe, fatal to France by weakening the chiefs in the moment of danger. We ought to have aided them or have changed them sooner. The opposition of 1830 was wiser than we. It left to the government the means of strength and defense to the last hour, but the resolution to overturn it, if it persisted in error, augmented silently in every heart. The crisis once desired by the majority, the famous ordinances, was only the occasion well chosen and quickly taken advantage. Let us be better advised then to endeavor to weaken the government at an unseasonable time. Let us aid it as long as we keep it, as it may be strong, not for itself, but that its weakness may not touch the heart of the state. If it becomes guilty of an outrage against the sovereign, of which it is only the first magistrate, let opinion, inevitable and supreme strength of civilized societies, arise and increase calm and terrible in the bottom of all hearts until the day marked by providence, or become general and then irresistible. It shall reveal itself of a sudden in one of those bursts of thunder which clear the horizon. While we await that day, manet ultimati repostum.